Hey everyone, hope you all had a great weekend. Thanks for joining me today on September 12th. And as always, we are not financial advisors and everything you see on here is for educational purposes only. Alright, let's get started with BTC. And as you can see, we're pushing up nicely. We landed on a white fib, which is technically a temporary reversal fib, and then head back up. When the market is a certain like bullish on, or either bullish or very bearish, instead of doing the temporary reversal on the white fib, they break through it right away. And the fact that it broke through it right away, I told everybody yesterday, hey, we broke it right away. This means BTC is bullish. Now, since my last update on Monday, I'm gonna delete this. We had a nice big drop that I kept talking about. Like, hey, look, I still see us dropping down. We were due for a breakout. We dropped all the way back down. Landed on this ray line. Unfortunately, I can actually call this a miss because the ray line actually failed us. I mean, it let us know that, hey, this is a good chance of resistance, but it didn't hit our 17K target, which is okay, because like obviously, like I explained in the previous videos throughout the week, it's actually better that we don't hit that 17K, and I'm about to show you guys why. So something I've been showing the group this whole time in the last previous video throughout the whole week, this is playing out nicely. This is what we want. We want this pattern to play out over hitting 17K. Remember, I told everybody, like, look, around this time, Yinshi was told, hey, buy back your coins. And even I started to say, like, look, not a bad time to buy back your coins because we're close to the bottom. All I wanted overall was a double bottom. I wanted to retest. Obviously, I would have liked my 17K to hit. But here's the thing. When we drop down, I mentioned on the video, hey, look, we actually could go up because everybody once again flipped. Everybody was bullish. Now everybody's bearish. What do we do when everybody's saying down? We go up. What do we do when everybody says up? We go down. Now, the cool thing about this up is we saw it coming. I posted a video explaining this scenario. This is what I really want to play out. This is our golden ticket. All right, I'm going to turn on the little lines. So this is a pattern that I saw us maybe playing out and enable for us to play this out. When we were down here, I mentioned, look, according to this pattern, we should technically pump all the way back up to 25K really fast. Does that look like it's pumping back up to 25K really fast? Right now we're at 22. That looks pretty fast to me. So now on here there's a little gap where, you know, it closed here and it opened up here. I actually went back into all of this and not once have I found a gap. So this tells me, because the BLX is always delayed, this tells me this is going to fail later. Like, we're going to check back in and it's going to be either a candle like this. We'll make this green. We'll zoom in a little closer and grab this. It'll either be like a green candle over here where it lines up to this, or the green candle will be on this side where it's going to line up to it. So it's going to look like, oh, it just went straight up. So this is actually pretty cool because this is the pattern I want to play out, because then this will tell us where our top is going to be, which will be next May. So if I put this back where it belongs, okay, one thing we know is this. We know, and this is going to be a repeat for like everybody else throughout the week, but we know we're usually at a bottom during the halving. Oh, come on. I clicked the thing. Right? We're usually at near a bottom during the halving. So what does that tell us? There should be a bottom around this area. Back down to like 40, 50K. I don't think we're going to go sideways this whole time. Obviously, we'll have some ups and downs. But I think we actually might play all the way up to this and then come all the way back down. So then we like slowly like come back down and then we make our way back up. And that puts us in the same scenario where, like, you know, this, obviously we could even go sideways with some ups and downs and stuff like that. But I really want this pattern to lock in, which is why it was so important. I was telling everybody, we need that 25K right before we did this big pump. And as soon as that big pump happened, I was like, you know what? That's a really good confirmation that that would go up. So And I've been telling people like, hey, you might want to DCA now, but everybody, again, the thing with people is people do tend to get greedy and they're like, no, I want the cheaper price. Nope, I want the cheaper price. You know what I mean? Like if I'm DCing in, you probably might want to DCA in too, right? Everyone's like, no, I'm gonna wait for the cheaper one. It's like, but I see as maybe going to 25K. So this is why I told the group, like, I hope nobody was surprised. I just did a video yesterday talking about, hey, we could pump up really fast. We're pumping up pretty fast. And I repeat this because, again, I like to keep everybody grounded. And I repeat it a lot so that way people start to focus. Because I don't want people to be selective of what I say. That's one of the biggest problems in crypto is that everybody's very selective of the info that's given to them. They can say, hey, Luna's going to pump 10,000% and then dump 95%. People are only going to hear that, oh, Luna's going to pump 1,000%. And then they write it back down to 95%. So, like, you know what I mean? This is why I like to repeat a lot of my stuff. It's like, all right, because I don't want people to be selective of, the info that I give out. If we don't pump up to, like, at least 25K, maybe even close to 26K, then obviously this pattern is not going to play out and it's not going to be following it. But if we follow this, remember, we never hit the top. So the market overall should still be somewhat bullish. Because before, we've always hit the top. Here, it didn't, came down, but then went right back up. And that's one of the things that gives me a clue, like, hey, I think we're going to head back up really fast. On top of that, Bitcoin has a lot of bullish targets that are left open. So I did tell people, hey, when we go back up, we're going to go up really fast. This would be pretty fast. Imagine if Bitcoin hit 100K like around end of April, May. End of April, early May. Then we would have to take a profit because that's when, think about it, 100K is an emotional spot for a lot of people. If people realize, oh, Bitcoin's 100K, I better buy, oh, I better buy before it's 1 million. People start to buy. People are not going to want to buy Bitcoin at 19,000. They're going to want to buy Bitcoin when it's 100K. Then it drops back down to around like 40, 50K. Around here. Around like mid. And that's actually kind of true. Because 23 is an up year. And that shows us going up. 24 is a down year. Shows us dropping back down. And then 25 will be an up year. Shows us going all the way to the top. See what I mean? Like, for me, there's just too many coincidences that just play out perfectly to this. And this is why I always showed people, like, hey, look, technically we have to have a big push up. And if this pattern locks in, like, people have no idea how awesome this is going to be. Because we'll be able to take maybe some profits on this drop and this drop. Based on what we were told before, it's like, hey, you know what? There are going to be little stops. Just write it through. So we might just write it through. As soon as Bitcoin hits 100K, I'll probably sell half of everything that I have. Let it drop, pick it back up, and then write it all the way back up. You know what I mean? It's like, why even bother? Obviously, we'll do like little trade bags here and there, but our hodl bags will just stay pretty much consistently hodling. And this is going to be freaking awesome if this plays out. Imagine that, 100K by next year. And here's the thing. A lot of people have switched to bullish. And I think now they might stay a little bullish for a little while. Bearish. And like, oh, well, we're going to have a bear market for 2-3 years now, 4 years. We're going to pump all the way to 100K. Everybody's going to fumble back in. We're going to get dumped. They're going to get dumped on. You know what I mean? It's just the same scenarios play out every single time. But I don't want to hold up too much on this. But I did want to give a little bit of, detail because, since my last public update, we were right here on this candle. I think it was this candle. And then it just it was this candle. Then we printed another one, completely dumped down, freaked everybody out. And then we had some Fed meeting around this time. But as soon as we printed these two candles, I was like, you know what? I don't think we're going to go all the way back down. I think we're actually going to push back out to 25K. And that's when I made the video telling everybody, like, look, you might want to, like, I'm going to start DCAing now because, one, Yunshi was already told, hey, we can buy back now. Two, I saw this playing out. Like, I mentioned here, like, hey, look, we went all the way to the top, which we did. Well, I mentioned we would go back up. When we were, like, in these first two candles, this is around, like, June. I was like, look, if we follow this pattern, technically we should bounce back up to near the top. and then drop back down. And this is why I always was so big on like, no, we need to do at least a double bottom. We don't have to hit the 17K. It would be great, but at least we do a double bottom. And this is when everybody was screaming like, oh, this is the bottom. Technically it is, because the prices were still a lot cheaper than where they were now. But the prices did drop. Like you're talking about, like, you know, XRP was like 40, almost 39, 40 cents, you know, dropped down to, I think, what was the lowest it dropped to? This is on the week. I was like, why is it so weird? It's a weekly. We dropped down to like 31. Not too bad. You know, I would have loved my 30 cents because it was right there. And there's still a chance we can dump back down and knock out these open targets that we have. But I would really hate for that to happen because I really want this pattern to play out. But again, anything could really happen. So far, we have a good idea of where we're headed to. And once this updates, once this corrects itself, right? Because right now you really can't tell how it's like up. And there's going to be another green candle up. So it's going to be pushing it. Because one of these candles, one of these lines here represents like 2, maybe even 3 candles. No, it represents like 2 candles pretty much. So we need this week to easily push all the way back up to like 25, 26, maybe even 27. The higher it goes, the better. And then at this point, we're just going to have a steady rise. We'll have a steady rise. Like that. We'll be more like this. It'll be a steady rise, and then we'll have a nice little drop at the end of October. It'll be a correction. It's not gonna be like no crazy crash or like that. Little correction. We go up. We'll have another correction in January. Sorry, we'll start to have a correction in around January 1st. It'll probably be the end of December. This is where everybody, you know, cashes out, obviously, to pay their taxes. We drop towards our bottom will be somewhere near like mid-January. Then it pumps all the way back up. Slowly goes back up. We'll have actually a nice little drop, and then we'll probably go to 100K and then it'll start to drop. That's what's most likely gonna happen. That's if this pattern plays out. I don't want to stick too much on this, but let's go back to the regular BTC. Right now, we're not on any fib lines. On top of that, on the weekly for BTC, we need to do 2 arrows up, even though they're pointing down. So this is our first arrow upward. We still need to do a second one. So even if like we retrace a little bit, we're looking really bullish because the second arrows do play out a lot better than like the white fib targets. So second arrow will come straight, but I need this to finally close completely so I can know how high we're gonna come back up after we retrace. But yeah, but other than that, BTC is actually really bullish, and this is why I told people like, hey, you might want to do your dollar cost averaging because again, I showed everybody the rainbow chart on BTC. You know what I mean? Like we're right here. We dipped a little bit under and then pushed back up. Like basically a fire sale. Like how much more can you be told in your face? Hey, buy your coins. Make sure you buy your coins. I know, you know, I had like 30 cents for XRP. I know there's some woo-woo out there with ridiculous low numbers. You know, there's a lot of people saying low numbers. Even if we were to drop more, you're still buying at a good price. So at least start buying now. I'm not saying go all in now. I've been doing DCA because as long as you're in the dark blue circle here, like it's not a bad time. You know, I know Snippy got some really crazy targets dropping down. You know, SL's got some crazy targets. Like a lot of people have target. And I'll tell you this, last time I FOMO'd into those prices and got left behind on some of my coins. You know what I mean? When this happened down here, we're like, oh, we're going to drop back down. Like Bitcoin was 6,000. They're like, oh, we're going to drop back down to 3,000. We're going to drop back down to 3,000. You know what I mean? This is before I knew like our count system and everything like that. Our fibs, and I've mastered my patterns. So I was like, oh, okay, well, they've been pretty accurate lately. So let me sell like my data. Let me sell my Zil. Let me sell my vet. Like when they were like under a penny. And after that, all they kept doing was going up, going up, going up, going up. And this is the thing. I don't want people to do the same thing. Look, we're in the dark blue. Make sure you do your dollar cost averaging. You know, people who were waiting, even though I said like, hey, like I would start dollar cost averaging. And this is the second time where I was like, hey guys, I'm going to start buying. And people kind of question it. They're like, oh, well, why are you buying? Like you said, we could go lower. That's fine. We could go lower. But my motto has always been, we're going to get in at a good price, not the bottom. Everybody, and I've said this last time too, everybody misses the bottom, right? When you hear like people on YouTube saying, "Oh, see, that was the bottom, we called it," I guarantee you they probably did call it, but they didn't trust themselves enough to buy that at that point. There'll be some that did, but for the most part, most people don't. And I've learned this from a lot of trading groups. They'll nail things, but they didn't even do the trade themselves. Because one, it helps be more accurate when you don't actually trade it yourself, because there's no emotions involved, your money is not involved, so it gives you a clear mind, so that way, you know, your people are taken care of. But I don't want to stick too long. I don't want to make this video like 30 minutes or something like that, too crazy. But yeah, BTC is looking really nice. We could have a couple of days of corrections, but for the most part, we need to break that previous top. Like, we need to get back up to 25. We need to lock in this pattern. We lock in this pattern. You heard it here first. Actually, I've said it a few times now, but 100K, you know, early April, early May, or end of April, early May. But when we look into the rest of the alts, they had a nice push up. They're kind of just going sideways. Saturday wasn't too big, you know. Sunday sideways, Monday sideways, Tuesdays we'll see how we do today. There should be some movement today. It's a Tuesday, there's usually some movement. Sundays and Mondays are usually either down days or sideways days, as you can see with like XRP when it went sideways. Now we still have a few bearish targets that we have. Now there is like a 20% chance it could like never hit those targets again. 80% chance it does, and this is why a lot of our targets always do fail. But there are going to be some that do get left behind. Now, 30 cents is still on the line. Again, right now we're at 35. We were up all the way up to like 38, 39. So we're like in the middle. I would probably, at this point, wait for a nice drop before buying some XRP. Again, you know, we do have that target there, so we understand, hey, it could drop there. And it's more of like, okay, if it drops, perfect. Then you buy more, but you want to start buying at a really good price. Don't get greedy. Everybody who's like always aims like, well, I'm gonna buy cheaper, missed it. I'm gonna buy cheaper, missed it. You know. Now with algo, we're not on XRP is not on any fib lines. Algo is not on any fib lines, so it can still push back up. H bar, no fib lines, so it can still push all the way back up. You know, Matic is on the fib line, but it looks like it's trying to break through right now. I have Rose. So Rose actually came down, knocked out our white fib at the bottom, which was 6 cents. So it knocked that out, dropped, pushed all the way back up. And if you guys remember what I mentioned with Rose, is we had two fib lines like this. And I mentioned, if we drop, knock out this target, we're going to go up, knock out that target. I said, hey, if we go up first, knock out this target, then we're going to drop down, knock out the white line at the bottom, which was 600. And look what we did. I don't want to remove that fib line. I'll delete it for now, but I'll bring it back in. So we dropped down first, knocked out this one. What happened? Went straight back up, knocked out the second target. So this is what's really important about these white fibs and how they play out, especially when they have one on top, one on bottom. It's pretty cool because once it hits one, then you know which way the other one's going to go to. Now, what's important here, got to bring back the fib. Another thing I mentioned here too is we also hit another white fib at 0.7006. So what's that mean? It means a temporary reversal and then it'll head back up. Unless there's two that, like, you know, obviously counteract each other. But we already know how those play out. So we drop down, now we're pushing back up. So I can see Rose push all the way up above 0.07006. So I can see, you know, Rose still be a little bit bullish. Now with Shiba, I do have this target here at 0.000098. With Bitcoin pushing up all the way to 25K, I don't think any of the alts will actually drop down and hit these low targets. Like, these low targets could be canceled out, right? The fact that Bitcoin's not gonna hit that 17K, that cancels that out. The market is bullish. This will cancel out all my, you know, lower targets. I'll still have that just in case some rare crazy event happens. But I'm gonna delete this and we'll draw it again. But I still see the same pattern here, where, you know, it goes up, we drop down, we go sideways, we drop, we go kind of sideways up, and then we have a huge pump upward. You know, and even the psychics are saying how they saw this, right? Yunchi gave us a big clue, like, hey, we'll have a small pump, and we'll have a big drop, then we'll have a massive pump. That can actually apply to Luna, but we'll have a big push up. We dropped, we went sideways, we dropped again. We're kind of just going sideways up. And at this point, any day now, we could have a nice big pump on Shiba. And based off the ratio, yeah, it's going to be a long video. I mean, if we look at the pattern, so let's say if I copy this, take out the magnet, yeah, see, so like it dropped not perfectly to it, but let's say we finally pump, it'll put us around 34. I think I've had this up here where I'm like, oh, we can technically go all the way up to like 38.60. Now we did the 558 or 885, it would be all the way up here. But even then, from like where we're at now, still be 164%. I think it might pull like a Luna and do like at least 300. That's that 558. Or if we can go to the previous top. This is an open target at the 885. Because based on this, it's a big chunk. It's a way bigger pump than that. Like, because this right here, we'll say this is like 1/4 of the candle. Well, it's about 1/4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. So it'll at least hit like 3,400. Is what I'm thinking. We should hit at least 3,400. And then that might do. We'll be doing like a head and shoulders. I mean, head and shoulders. A cup and handle is what I meant to say. And then we might even do a bigger one. Right? It all just depends on like how BTC is going to be flowing. But I do see some sort of pump like this. And again, Luna played out way sooner than what the psychics and Woo Woo were saying, right? Brian Psychic nailed it. She was like, hey, it's going to pump during, September, first week of September. And that was somewhere around here. But we nailed it way, way sooner. And maybe Shiba might do the same thing where it might pump a lot sooner than what the psychics are saying. And speaking of Luna, I did mention that it would have to drop all the way back down. If I go back to the hourly, I kept telling people, this scenario here, this pattern always plays out. Whenever there's a bunch of candles and in one big candle, and that big candle retraces more than half of its percent. Like if it retraces about 3/4, it's gonna have to come back down to this bottom. And look, we're pretty much there. So that pretty much canceled that. But on top of that, it kind of started maybe a little chain reaction. And with Luna, I also mentioned, hey, this right here looks like a top at 59,411. Right? Remember, everybody? I was like, hey, this looks like a top for me. On top of that, I have 2 open targets. One at 34,235 and one at 21,972. If Bitcoin, and I also stated, Bitcoin goes up, Luna's going to drop. Right? Luna always does the opposite. Look, a lot of the coins have a little nice push. Look at Luna, minus 15%. So one thing I always do is from where I mentioned, hey, this could be a top, because it actually came down. Obviously from the peak, I don't think anybody sold at the peak, was 38. But from where it's at, it's down now 30%. And this is why I even made a video. It's like, hey, make sure you take your profits. I feel like this is the top. I made a whole good long section of this. Like, hey, look, this looks like it could be a top. We're on a strong fib line. We're a little bit off, but we're on a strong reversal fib line. And it's now showing me 2 different bearish targets. We're going to at least hit one. And that would have been, 35%. We're at 30% right now. And there's obviously a chance it could go down to the second one. And believe it or not, when a coin retraces around 60%, that actually is normal. Whenever there's a pump, that could be normal. And then we can have something like this, where it goes up, comes down, and then goes for a second run. Right? So, and then later on today, I'm gonna do a video of how you can stake your Luna, because I actually bought some, even though we knew we were gonna drop, and I mentioned it clearly. Look, we know we're gonna drop. We bought a little bit of Luna, nothing crazy, just so we can stake. Okay, if we drop again, we're gonna buy more, and guess what? We're gonna stake. We wanted to stake it so we can see how the rewards are, how everything plays out, and it's not bad. We don't make anything crazy, right? We make like $2 worth of Luna, but you need to understand, like we make close to 3,500 Luna a day. Okay, let's say one day, and we're staking it. We're gonna stake it for until it's like 10 cents. So let's say for every day we make 3,500, and one day it's gonna be 10 cents. We're making $350 a day. We just can't take it out yet, right? It's locked up in the bank, right? We're 17 years old. We can't get our money until we're 18, pretty much. That's the way you have to look at it. And that's the reason why we staked a little bit, just to see what happens, right? But Luna's pushing down nicely. We should hit our target, if not today, maybe tomorrow. It has lost a lot of momentum, but I'm sure Binance will come back in and pump it out later on. It would be smart for them to allow a correction so it's like healthy. People start selling. And it's funny because you're technically selling it back to them real like cheaper, and then they pump it and then they're gonna sell it back to you more expensive, or pricier and pricier. But yeah, so at this point, like I told people, this could be our top right here. We have 2 bearish targets. I would take profits. I know most people are hodlers and they're gonna just hollow it through. But Brian's psychic Susan also nailed it because she said, sell on the 10th, which is this green candle here. Or was it the 9th or 10th? Technically one of these. So she's technically nailed it too. It was going sideways for a while, so I'm like, hey, look, we have to watch it first to see if we pump up. Because if it would have pumped upward, then obviously that would not been a good time to sell based off her info. But the fact that it's still dropping, she's actually nailing it really good. So I'm about to post. I'm gonna have Brian. So if you're watching this, or I'm gonna post it on Discord. If you want to post a link with an address, and then I'll pin it so everybody can see it. So everybody who has benefited from this can give her a tip. And if you made a bunch of money, make sure you be grateful. Give her a nice tip. You know what I mean? Good karma comes back to you, just like how bad karma goes back to those bad people. So when we look at the rest of the alts, I have a few that are on reversal fibs, like Adams on a reversal fib. A week, well, actually it's a week, but it's gone sideways, so it might be canceled out. AVAX was one I did want to point out because it is on a weak reversal fib at 21. Sorry, strong reversal fib at 21.92. If we hold here, it's going to drop back down. But if it breaks above this last one, it's going to have a really nice push back up. Digibyte is going sideways. Ethereum is one I want to touch up on because I do have a white fib target at 106. That actually might be canceled out if Bitcoin continues to push up. Now, the thing with Ethereum, it is going to have a fork, and if people don't like the new Ethereum, they might dump it down, or maybe this will become the old Ethereum and this will dump down because everyone's going to switch over to the new one. So then this one might still hit their target, right? You never really know when it comes to stuff like that. So that's going to be really interesting to play out. ADA did have an open target at, and this is 2 arrows. So this is what's interesting. These are the ones that tend to play out more. I still have it at 42. So just like XRP, 30 cents, ADA 42. So this is kind of why I'm not 100% that the weekly pattern is going to play out, but I really want it to. And it's looking pretty good so far. So Theta, ZIL, all just kind of going the last 3 days, the market has just gone sideways. Now for Sol, I actually had a nice little pump. It's not on any reversal fibs yet, so it can still push out. So the rest of the market, obviously it's a little short update. I'm going to focus more on BTC, Shiba, and Luna, because those are the ones that could actually make us the most money right now. Everything else is, nice little pumps here and there, but we nailed it. We nailed the Luna pump. Now here's an interesting thing. I wasn't in 100% on the Luna pump. I actually was going in and out, taking little profits here and there, here and there, here and there. And the reason is because, and I mentioned it before plenty of times, it's because the market was overall bearish. Now that if we hit that 25K and we're bullish and Shiba pumps, we're gonna stay in a little bit longer. We don't want to because I didn't want to risk this dumping all the way back down, especially because it was really early and it was supposed to pump at early September. But as you can see here, it continued to play out because technically, like if you waited like to early September, you would have missed out on a huge chunk, which I'm pretty sure a lot of people did outside of this group, right? We got in a long time ago. Slowly pushing back down, but video is about 30 minutes long. I don't want to make it any longer than I have to. As you can see, a lot of stuff does happen. If you're not in the Discord, a lot of stuff does happen. So it's advertisement time, right? So if everybody who's already in, you guys can like log off. But if you're not in, again, I do have a premium Discord where I do give more updates. And on top of that, I do have, you know, at $10 a month, you can watch all my videos I post. I post from Monday through Friday. Sometimes I'll even do Friday, Saturday or Sunday, depending on how crazy the market can get. But for $30 a month, you can actually have access to my Discord and my Signal alerts. So I have a separate app because everybody has like Telegram, everybody has Patreon, everybody has this, and you're already probably getting a bunch of messages. So I have a separate app that I use. So where if you get a message from that specific app, you know it's important. All right. Now, I do have an edge tier where it bumps you up a little bit more. You get the same Discord access, Signal alerts. You can actually request charts. So you can actually see where your chart is to see if it's at a good time to get in or a bad time to get in or so and so. I am posting some trades. Lately, we've been focused more on like the whole Luna and Shiba. But I do want to get back to posting some scalp trades here and there. And you also get some Zoom sessions with me. So let's say you want to go over your portfolio. You want to go over certain coins you like to see if they're good or bad. You know, you want to show me something. You want to need help with like recovering some wallets that, you know, you accidentally locked up or anything like that. So there's a lot. You know, there's even people who've actually like to just vent. And it's good. You know what I mean? It's good to vent to somebody, right? You know, help you keep stay grounded. You know, that way you're not holding in all this stress and pressure. Like, no, you got to relieve it. I have some really good conversations with people all the time, which is pretty fun. And if you ever wanted to get into trading, I do have a video for scalp trading beginners, as well as a professional one-on-one. So we can, you know, we'll meet up every single day. And the feedback I've gotten from this is actually really good. I've had a lot of people who, just in general, you know, when I go over the emotional part of trading, you know, that alone helps you out, not just in the trading, but like overall market, right? So you don't FOMO into things, you don't do anything about that. Because a lot of trading videos out there will just go over the trading and that's it. Like, there's more than just learning the trade. Trading part's easy. There's a, you know, emotional part and money management that are going to really determine whether you're going to be successful. And some people have learned, like, you know what, based on what I've learned, and trading is just not for me, right? You actually accept it so that way you don't go and continue to lose money, because you're going to be like, no, like, I can still do this. But, you know, understanding where you stand, like on an emotional scale, you know, it might be better for you to not trade and you can still be successful hodling. You know what? Especially if that weekly chart plays out. But I don't want to waste any more time. Thank you for everybody who joined me today, and I'll see you guys on the next Monday update, the public update, or for those in Discord, I'll see you guys tomorrow or in the Discord.